we are not used to being uncomfortable anymore, right? Like as human beings, our life is so in general, this is generalities, like the world is maybe an easy place to live in for a lot of people where like, I mean, the most I'm going to be uncomfortable today is I don't know if I wait too long to eat, right? Like there's just not a lot of discomfort in life. And parents really, truly do. They protect their kids from discomfort in every realm, I think. Um, and in the math class, it's like if you want a student to try to struggle through a problem, they're like, "Can you just tell me the answer? Just tell me how to do it." Like it's very much just like skip to this point, or also memorize this algorithm. Just tell me the steps. Just tell me the algorithm. Let's get to the answer. And it's really yeah. There's this resistance to struggling through or making mistakes or failing. Like that's such a and people just don't want to do it.
Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast. And today I am very, very excited because since I was a kid, I have been loving math. But then I had a very love and hate relationship with math when I went into university. And now I work as a data consultant. So I do not know what happened. And I'm here to make sense of it. And a person who can help me do that is Heidi. Heidi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, Heidi. The weather is picking up here. I don't know where you are calling in from.
I am from Utah in the United States.
It's much warmer, I'm assuming, right? It's a warm place.
It's winter right now, so we have snow outside. It's probably
Really?
40 Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's colder.
Utah is that a state or is that a city?
It is a state, so it is next to Colorado, if you know Colorado,
Uh,
below
I I
Idaho.
always thought it was next to Texas a little bit,
No,
but
it's
it's
up.
not.
Yeah, it's
It's
further
up.
north.
That's why it's colder because usually I
Hmm.
hear Arkansas, I hear Texas, I hear maybe I don't know Alabama. So I always thought there
Hmm.
were more like warmer places. So I always thought Utah was one, but I remember the city, Salt Lake City, that's in Utah. So
That's
it's
where I am.
actually a
Yeah,
state. Yeah, it's a state.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
that's interesting. It's snow outside. And that's
Yes.
basically what I was trying to tell you was that here, it's getting better. So it's
Mhm.
still very cold, like 5 degrees, 4 degrees centigrade. But yeah, it was snow last week, and this week it got better. So I'm pretty excited that the hoodies are off, the half sleeves are back on inside the house because my God, it was an intense couple of weeks. But great to see you're all warmed up. And Heidi here is, I would like to say, a math evangelist, right?
Yes,
So
I love that.
so I will let you have the floor, Heidi. Tell me all about what you do, why you do it, and why math.
Okay, well, why math is easy because I loved math always and it clicked for me. So I was one of the lucky ones who, in traditional school, it just like I got it. And I'm very competitive, and math had a lot of like, how quickly can you do your multiplication facts? Can you do all your division facts? And it was just something that I jived. It was so good for me. So math has been something that I've always loved and found to be fun and easy for me. And so naturally, I went into teaching math. And it turns out that is not how most people feel about math. Like, especially in the United States, it's just a dreaded subject. So I've taught middle school and high school. So let's say 12 to 18-year olds.
Yeah.
And in every grade, it's just kids have such a bad attitude about math. And I was like, why do people hate math? Like, it's so useful. It's so interesting. It's so fun. From my perspective, this is what I'm thinking as I'm this young university student just out of university teaching. Anyway, and then with the 2020 and the world just on its head, everybody needed a math tutor because all of a sudden there was just no structure around the teaching. And so I picked up tutoring and I haven't looked back. I love tutoring. It's such a different environment than the classroom because I'm the good guy and not the bad guy. So I really get to spread like math love, which is my whole goal.
That's amazing. So, right out of university, did you just start teaching, or did you ever go into like an industry and worked a little bit?
So right out of university, I started teaching. I actually, when I graduated, I went and taught English in the Marshall Islands, and that was a trip. That was such an experience, so eye opening, and it's such a challenge. So I started with that, and then I came back and I did jump right into teaching. I got a job teaching high school, and I went from there. I have stayed in the education industry, but not always teaching. Like I worked for a dropout recovery high school where I was an academic coach. So I was just, talking to kids, trying to get them to do their work and graduate. And what else have I done? I mean, everything's been education related. So I've been a
Oh,
tutor, I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, I've been a registrar for a school. It's always
wow.
been in the education world.
That's beautiful. You know why I'm interested in that? Because I'm also, well, young is a questionable term these days, right? But I'm also in my late 20s and I love like teaching and I love coaching. I actually got like whole coaching certificates for like personal coaching, group coaching, agile coaching. And yeah, when I go into these classes to learn to become a coach or a teacher, I feel like an imposter because when I'm surrounded by these really, really, first of all, experienced people who have done their expertise in industries and they have accumulated years of experience and now they're here to teach, to coach, to educate out of their own experience. Plus, of course, the myriad or like the long line of education and the academia they have done. So from university onwards in high school, I never taught in high school. I taught at university level. But did you not feel that when you were surrounded by people who were a bit older than you, or is this different in the States?
I mean, I'm just going to be 100% honest. I was never a great teacher, and there were so many amazing teachers I was surrounded with, and I leaned into them, which was something I thank my younger self for, not being intimidated by their experience and knowledge, and they were just so much better than me. So honestly, when I first started teaching, I struggled. I love math and I love teaching, but the classroom environment that I was in was not for me. It's nothing that I ever mastered. So yeah, I maybe felt imposter syndrome and was an imposter. Like it was rough, and I leaned into those relationships with the older, more experienced, better teachers and tried to just like suck up their knowledge, and I still left teaching. So
That's beautiful. Like, so you enjoyed or not enjoyed, it's the middle of the thing, the school, the classroom environment, but you do love teaching math now in your tutoring environment. So why the difference?
honestly, I think that the attitude is so different. And also in the United States, we have large classrooms, like a large amount of students. So that makes it really hard. My first actual classroom experience, I had 40 kids in there. It was high school math. And it's too many kids to like really figure out why somebody doesn't get a topic or how their brain works and what way is going to be the best way to explain some idea for them to click. So, you just teach, it's like teaching to the average, but you're leaving kids behind that are ahead. You're leaving kids behind that are, below grade level or don't understand a topic. And I struggled. I wanted to reach every student and I wanted every kid to love math because I mean, I love it. I love math so much. I was like, you can do this. Math is for everybody. But in that setting, it wasn't possible. So when I've taken myself out of the classroom and now I work one on one with students, it is amazing because I get to work with their strengths and their weaknesses and just work where they are. So it's not possible to do that in a like 1 to 30, 1 to 40
Yeah.
classroom.
Indeed, it's like it's pacing basically, right? So the people who are ahead, the people who are falling a bit behind than the average, it's just a pacing problem. Not
Mhm.
everyone can really catch it really quickly. Not everyone can really do something really quickly. It's mostly like, why can't I have it to my pace? And that's where a lot of these self-paced learning concepts have started coming in, like Khan Academy. And Khan Academy actually also opened up a school in the United States. And
Mhm.
that's also a very self-paced school. The concept is still similar that,
Yeah.
you do online courses and then you go into the class when to the teacher to ask questions and pass exams. So I hear pacing, but I was raised in a very different environment. Pakistan, India. If you know math, you know that in this region people really really love math, like
Yes.
China, India, Pakistan,
Yes.
and yeah, for us it's a race. In India you have, or in China you have like the youngest people who have done math at like age 11, 10, university. I don't believe that. Like I don't believe that's the right thing to do, but their pacing is this. It's the opposite of what you guys think, right? The pacing is like how quickly you can get stuff done. And
Yeah.
yeah, you need to be ahead of the crowd. You need to run. And I'm torn between the two, Heidi, to be honest. I do like the concept of the left side that, yeah, okay, it should be inclusive, everyone should be paced accordingly. But I also feel like there is some element of rigor missing, don't you think? Like, it's like, yeah, if you don't challenge them, if you don't push them a little bit to reach a little bit further, then they will just lag. That's human nature. If I give you the option of drinking water from this river next right next to you and a river across the mountain, what would you choose?
Yeah, right next to you. I agree, and I wonder how much is cultural because I will tell you, I'm 37, so I'm older than you, and I was teaching. I've been teaching for a while, but I can't tell you what the culture with the parents is so interesting as well because so many parents are like, "When are they ever going to use this?" I'm like, "When are they ever going to use this? Hello, it's math, you know." But it just is lost somewhere, and then it just is. It's like this generational transference of math is just not useful. We don't really use it. And I get that you don't see math all the time, but everything we're using is based in math.
Yeah,
And it's so just like culturally, I think it just here has been a challenge because I'm not only trying to convince kids that they should do their math homework and care and learn and struggle and all the beautiful things, but
yeah,
also I need to convince their parents that this is a useful way to spend their time for 30
yeah.
minutes trying to understand this concept. And they have no idea, these kids have no idea what doors they're closing when they shut themselves off to math. And it just is, it's interesting. I think it's a very cultural thing here where math is just not cool. Not,
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
indeed. And also, like, to take the conversation a bit more on the on a higher level, uh, the parents also now are like taking the choice away from the kids to struggle, right? They were like, well,
Mhm.
my kid is not going to use math. We have calculators now. With the introduction of Chat GPT, I think you must be like right in the center of the storm, being a teacher, being a tutor, knowing that, okay, like, now what are we going to do? The kids can just ask AI. The kids can ask AI to do their essays for them. They can ask AI to do their math problems for them.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
although for math, AI is not that good yet. That's what I've seen so far in Chat GPT.
Mhm.
But like, this is the thing that I want to really like focus on, and I want to see how I like how math plays a role here, because math is that kind of a subject that does make you struggle, and it is on purpose. It is designed this way that it wants to make you think, it wants to make you expand your horizons a little bit. But parents who are responsible for the children's growth are making it easier for them. They're like, hey, Heidi, I don't think they're going to use this. Can we just not focus on this? In Pakistan, is the other way around. We really focus on teaching and everything as being the experts. So my parents would just be like, whatever the teacher says is okay. And like 20 years ago, when I was young, even if your teachers are hitting you, it's allowed by the parents, because they know, because they are making you ready for the next world. So that culture shift is there, that our parents wanted us to struggle. And I see in the West, it's like, and also in the East now, that's happening the same thing with the new generation of parents. They're like, do we need to struggle? So what are your thoughts on that, and how does math play a role there?
I think that's such an interesting point. We are not used to being uncomfortable anymore, right? Like as human beings, our life is so in general, I'm this is generalities, like the world is maybe an easy place to live in for a lot of people where like I mean the most I'm going to be uncomfortable today is I don't know if I wait too long to eat, right? Like there's just not a lot of discomfort in life, and parents really truly do, they protect their kids from discomfort in every realm, I think. um, and in the math class, it's like if you want a student to try to struggle through a problem, they're like, "Can you just tell me the answer? Just tell me how to do it." Like it's very much just like skip to this point, or also memorize this algorithm. Just tell me the steps. Just tell me the algorithm. Let's get to the answer. And it's really, yeah. There's this resistance to struggling through or making mistakes or failing. Like that's such a and people just don't want to do it, even though it's the best way to learn. I think it's the best way to learn, especially in something as safe as math, right? Like if you fail, if you do a problem completely wrong and you fail, who cares? You can try again, learn from your mistake. Like it's such a safe environment to be uncomfortable and to fail. But yes, I think that in general right now, people just don't want to be uncomfortable. And on top of that, we have like a new norm of comfort. And so, something 20 years ago, like not having access to your smartphone would be super uncomfortable today, but it's just normal today, right? Like it's a norm, it's not a discomfort. So it's a really interesting, yeah, overarching comfort is just we want our things. We're comfort creatures for sure.
Yeah, and confusing. I really, really like the points you're making. Like, a kid needs to struggle. I struggled when I was doing math, and it was annoying. And now still, I like to do things. There's this YouTube channel called Number File or Number of, and they always come up with these proofs or these ideas and everything. And I just watch the video while just sitting or commuting, and I have no idea what they're doing because, of course, they're PhDs in mathematics. They have their own thing going on, but I'm always fascinated, and I'm like, oh, I remember this. Oh, I've done this, and this I remember this from my bachelor's or from my master's, and like, oh shit, this is how it's used, and this is the use case for it. It just makes you feel like, okay, you are making more sense of the world, and I feel like that element of a story behind math is missing, right? Like, as you said, parents are like, when are they gonna ever gonna use it? And I feel like the people of math are not really doing a good job in trying to sell the story. The taxes, that's till an extent math, right? If you're thinking of budgeting and financial freedom, that's a bit of a math, etc., etc. You can even go further. You can talk about, okay, how do I become more sustainable in my climate change activism? That's a bit of math. You need to understand those things. So if you were to tell me a story to convince me or to make me think math matters, or to anyone who's listening, how would you do that?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you what I was diving into, what's been on my brain. I am trying to help people learn to love math. And I was just researching soccer balls, footballs, soccer balls in the United States, footballs for everybody else. And there are these Archimedean solids that have been around, discovered, whatever, explained for centuries. And it's just this beautiful coming together of two shapes and making this ball that everybody loves to watch the World Cup. Who doesn't love watching soccer, football? And I just think like that is math in a ball. It's beautiful, it's round, it works really well. It's got these two beautiful shapes coming together. And so there's a story behind the soccer ball that nobody talks about. And why is it this shape that we use? How is it perfectly round? All of these beautiful things that you can come up with the soccer ball. So it's just you find anything you give me, any topic you can find where the math is, or like modular math, like timekeeping, calendars, like being on a 24-hour clock or 12-hour clock, however you do it, or a 30-day calendar or 365 days. Like modular math is all around us, and most people are pretty good with it, but they don't think about the math behind it and how it works. Like if you have a kid that tells you that 2 plus 3 is 6, and you're like, no, 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 2 plus 3 is 5, that kind of like discourages them from exploring. Well, if 2 plus 3 is 6, that means that 2 plus 4 must be 7. And that's how modular math, you know, works. But we shut that down so early to be like, no, no, we do it this way. We're not going to
Ah,
let the
yeah.
story come through. And honestly, it might just be a fault of people not understanding, like, oh yeah, if we play with these ideas that are wrong, it actually helps us find or understand other ideas that we use. So it's just like that's just, I mean, I not only give you a soccer ball, but then like modular math, but really anything you do, your computer's running in zeros and ones because somebody was really good at math and figured out how to make it work. I don't know computers, but there's math behind it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, indeed.
I mean, it's just pervasive. Math is like, it's just pervasive. It's everywhere.
Yeah. You see it in nature as well, right? The geometry.
Yeah.
That's math right there. You see a
The
lot of
pattern.
these very interesting ratios, like they're called the golden ratios, they're called the
Mm-hmm.
Fibonacci sequences. These are all mathematical sequences that try to explain the world around us. In the end, I think that's the story, right, Heidi? The story
Yes.
is to explain the world around us. That was why math was created. That was why philosophy was created. That's why science was created. It was all to just make sense of where we are, because we as creatures were always curious creatures. We was always
Mm-hmm.
inquisitive by nature, and I think math is an example of inquisition, like, like to a T. Like, you really try
Mm-hmm.
to inquire, you try to understand, but why 2 plus 3 is not 6? Let me fix it, let me understand, and then you play around with it and you try to make sense of it. And as you said, we try to shut it down now. The education
Yeah.
system is built in a way that you want to just make people fit in a box, because it was built in a time when you didn't need thinkers, you needed doers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
now you don't need
Absolutely.
doers anymore. Now you need thinkers, because you have enough doers. Automation is doing most of the work for you till an extent. So you need thinkers now. So you need to open up the box again. So if I have to ask you, and I know these questions might sound like putting you on the spot in a way. So I do apologize for that in advance. But if I had to ask you to teach math in a way that you want to think outside the box, so what do you do in your classrooms or in your tuitions that you give in trying to make people think a little bit outside the box with their math?
Yeah. First, I think it needs to start so much younger, 3, 4, 5, right? But well before I see a student, they need to be thinking. And I love that. They absolutely need to be thinkers. But I really love to focus on how they're thinking because that's exactly what it is. If a student does a problem wrong, I my favorite thing to say is, "What are you thinking? How did you come to that?" Right? And then you can help them walk through their process and problem solve and say, "Okay, well, that didn't work because this was our outcome and what might we change," right? Like really diving into their process and thinking to help them become thinkers. I absolutely love that. I'm going to start using that. We need them to be thinkers. And that's what it is. It's just diving into their thought process, their thinking, and having them explain it. Oftentimes it fixes it, not fixes it, but oftentimes you'll see what mistake they made, right? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. So, it really is getting curious about how they're thinking and how they're processing and reasoning through a problem.
Yeah, and I feel like what I hear is that you're giving them the space to talk about their thoughts, and I think that's also really missing from a mainstream normal education system. I never hear teachers say, "Oh, what is the answer? This wrong or right?" And they never ask why. Right? Then
Yeah.
why did you think that? There's no space for that kind of a conversation because you don't want to waste time. You want to get through the curriculum. You want to get through the whole thing. So it's a whole rush there. But I do like what you're saying about start as young as you can. My daughter is 6 months old, right? And and I already was thinking I should order these curiosity boxes for her that are available everywhere, which teach kids math from a very young age and like science and everything. And my wife was like, she's very young. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if she's young. She needs to just learn one plus two. I have two toys, I have four toys. We can make play with her. And here as well, I see the element of struggling. When I put my daughter down and I throw all the toys around her, I see her struggling to get to the toy that she needs to get to. And as an instinct, as a parent, you want to like give her the toy. You're like, you know what, here you go. But no, that's not the right thing to do. She needs to learn to crawl. She needs to learn to get to that toy herself. And me and my wife both are trying to restrain ourselves. And like, no, she needs to learn. And I feel like that's also what's missing in general parenting these days. And I think when we get old, and our kids get old, we might do the same thing, right? We might be like going to our teachers who will be like Heidi, and we'll be like, hey, I can't. My kid is crying at home, saying that they don't know what math is. They don't know what they want to do with this thing. I don't want this anymore. So if a parent comes to you, you explained a little bit about trying to make them understand math is everywhere. But if a parent is stubborn, how do you handle it? How do you make them understand that why they should be caring about math and why should they be encouraging math, if that would be the case?
I mean, as a parent, parenting is hard. It is hard in every respect, right? And honestly, if a parent comes to me and they're adamant about math, it's really trying to help them see that we're trying to prepare their child. First, we don't even know what is the world going to be like in 30 years. Don't know, can't predict it. Like the world, it just changes and leaps and bounds, and we can't. Our thinking is so linear. We can't even imagine what's going to happen in 30 years. And I really try to put that across to parents, like your child needs to be equipped with skills that math helps build, which is problem solving, reasoning, analyzing, so that they can do a job that you probably don't even know exists yet. Well, it doesn't exist and we don't even know what it is. So it's really about helping them get out of this tunnel vision of where we are today. Sure, they can type in on their calculator what 2 times 2 is. Absolutely. Or they can ask Alexa. Absolutely. So they need to learn these skills beyond the relying on a computer to do everything for them, or they're going to be in a rut in 30 years doing the doer work that doesn't even exist anymore. It's really trying to get them to see beyond what we live in right now, because that's not what we're preparing their kids for. Their kids need to figure out their kids need to be prepared to live in a world that we don't even know what it's going to be like, and they need
Yeah,
these skills. And even if they're not going to be a mathematician, math helps build these skills. It's one of the quintessential pieces of math is just like working through a problem, analyzing, looking for patterns. It's processing information. Yeah.
I agree with it 100%. I actually believe the same. but for a different subject, and that subject is philosophy. I found philosophy in university, and yeah, I've never looked back since. I told my wife as well that my son or my daughter. So right now it's our daughter. So I said I'm gonna give her like Simone de Beauvoir as her 18th birthday gift or her 16th birthday gift because that's a female philosopher. I want her to know that females also do these things. If it was a
Hmm.
boy, I'd give them like a male philosopher just so they know that this is something to aspire to because they also do the same things, right? Philosophy is all about trying to make sense of the world around you using logic, using math, using science, and it's all about it. And I'm going through these podcasts and I have bookmarked all of these podcasts that I want to share with my kids down the line because they need to learn these things and they're not going to change. History of philosophy will never change, like history of math will never change. So those things I think are really, really important. And I feel like math and philosophy are quite similar to each other because they both come from very similar, like the branches are the same. So
Yeah.
I do get what you mean. And in the end, it's about preparing our kids. I really, really love that. Preparing our kids for a future we don't know that like how it will be, right? And that tells you the limited knowledge you as a parent have. And I think as parents, we don't want to accept that. Because as parents, you want to be like the complete package for your kids, right? You want to be like, I can do everything for my child. I'm the savior, I'm the protector, I'm the provider, I'm everything, but you
Absolutely.
aren't. You
No.
cannot be. And I think part of the process of learning that is to make sure your kid has the skills to be able to handle it when you're going gets tough themselves so that you don't need to step in. And there was this phase of helicopter parenting that started in the 80s and 90s. That's what people call it. So basically a
Hmm.
bit of our generation, right? Like when
Hmm.
we were kids, our parents were supposedly like this. That's what I hear. Like in the 80s, in the 90s, the kids who were born were like being raised as helicopter parents. But I feel like the kids of now are even more. What is your
I do
experience?
too. Oh, I agree. And it comes back to that comfort, discomfort. It's just like anything we can do as parents to not have our kids struggle. But childhood is like the best time to struggle and make mistakes. And because you have your network, you have your parents or your family who's there to help you bounce back. And hopefully you're not making, life changing mistakes in your childhood. Like just it's just a lower opportunity cost to make mistakes right when you're young. It just, if you forget your lunch, man, you might be hungry at lunchtime, or you might have to ask somebody to borrow some money. But it's like at the end of the day, not the worst thing that's going to happen to you. But if you forget your lunch and your parent always bails you out when you're an adult and you forget, I don't know, some important date at work, nobody's bailing you out, and that's a much larger consequence. And we're just taking away the opportunity for our kids to learn in this safer, like low consequence environment, including, in elementary math. This is coming back to math. Like when your child is struggling with elementary level math, that's the best time to encourage them to problem solve and think through and process, because it's a much smaller fall than if they're a senior and they don't understand math because they haven't understood it for 6 or 7 years, and then like graduating high school is in question, getting into a university is in question, what jobs are in question. So it's just like, it just we have to let our kids be uncomfortable and fail, and then be there to help them.
I completely resonate with that. I feel like I'm talking to a female version of myself. Like it's so much fun to understand. So to talk to someone who knows the importance of critical thinking, who knows the importance of problem solving, and knows that this generation needs to learn to do this on their own. And it's important. I really love what you said about a low cost or low consequence environment. That's exactly what you provide as a parent. It's not you don't let them fail. Oh no, you let them fail, but in a safe environment that those failures don't have consequences. What's the worst that can happen? They scrape a knee. They they like made fun of at school, right? Because they did something, or they become a bit hungry, or they are a bit cold. They get a little bit sick. Minute consequences compared to the larger scheme of things that can happen to them once they grow old. As you said, you're not going to get bailed out. And I see myself hands on experience because in Pakistan, we are supported by our parents to a longer age compared to the West. So in the West, it's like 18 and then you're done. But in
Mhm.
Pakistan, it's much longer, and our parents stay with us much longer. So, like my brother right now is in his mid 20s, and he lives with my parents, and he plans to live with my parents forever because that's how it is. He's the only one left in that house. All of us are now abroad, so it's his responsibility. Or they move to me, or they move to someone else, and that's how it works. So we always live with our parents, and our parents always spoil us. It's so much fun. But what I really loved about the parenting back home was that they gave us this low cost environment till a certain age, till 18, maybe till university. But the moment the switch happens, the moment we graduate from university and we go to a new job, all the nets are loose. Like it's overnight. In a way, I get scared. I'm like, this is not how it's supposed to be. You need to, like, you need to, like, build it up for me. They're like, nope, you're done. You have a job now. Start paying us money because you're living in this house. Start building responsibility and start go become a good bachelor, like, so that girls like you, and then you can get married and everything. So suddenly, in a very safe environment, you're coddled. Parents are paying for everything, university, college, everything. And then suddenly one day the carpet is completely taken away from you, and you're like, shit, what happened? But I still enjoy it. And today my mother-in-law was here with me, and my wife is also Afghani, so we are very similar cultures. And she's here to take care of her daughter because we both are working. And she's doing the cutest things that I missed back home because I haven't been with my mom for a long time. I just go for vacations. And she's like cutting apples and giving it to us while we're working. And I'm like, "Shit, I miss this." Where was this for years? I'm tired of adulting, I really miss the love. And I feel like that love is is good, but yeah, you need to know the boundary between suffocation and love. And I think that's a very interesting thing. And this story is not as a math enthusiast, but this story is as a parent. And as
Mhm.
you said as well, as a parent, I don't know if you're a parent or not,
I
but
am a
like,
parent as well.
yeah, so as a parent, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with letting your kids fail and managing that?
Yeah, I think that the best thing you can do, which I struggle with too, because you want the world for your kids, is thinking about the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. So, worst case, your kid, let's say they're riding their scooter or their bike and you think they're going too fast or they're dangerous, whatever. Worst case scenario, they fall, scrape their knee because you put a helmet on to make it safe, right? Best case scenario, they learn a boundary with their skills or their bodies. They're like, whoa, I was taking that too fast. I can't do that again just yet. Or I need to make an adjustment. So I really try to keep the worst case, best case scenario. And the best case is usually it's a learning experience. Like what are they going to learn from this? Best case. Worst case, what's going to happen to them? Like how uncomfortable are they going to be? Is this dangerous? Is this, so I really try to lean into these scenarios where I'm like, well, if I take them their lunch, then they don't learn that they need to put a reminder or figure something out, like something in their day needs to change because they should be able to figure that piece out. So that's how I try to navigate it. Is just best case they're going to learn this lesson, worst case whatever the worst case is, which isn't usually that bad.
Indeed. And how old are the kids, if I ask?
Okay, so I have a 1 year old and a 3 year old. However, I live in a house, a generational house, and my sister lives with me, and she has an 11 year old and a 9 year old. And that's the lunch, that's the one that I'm talking about with the lunch. But
Yeah.
so mine are little, but I'm around kids that I'm like, okay, it's about time that you can remember this, or, you forgot your backpack, sorry,
Oh,
how
that's
do we
beautiful.
remember it next time?
Oh, that's beautiful. And, any tips for a new parent? Because when I hear parents, I get very excited because as a new parent, you're all over the place, right? And you're trying to grab to the nearest support system you can, right? So anywhere I go to work and everyone goes like, "I'm a parent," I'm like, "Come here, please, help me." So what tips can you give to a person who's six month old parent, and yeah, the kids are just you don't want to let the kid go, but that's not a good thing. The kid needs to learn to sleep alone. And yeah, we can't do it. We love when she falls asleep in our arms and we want to hold her
That's
forever.
okay. Here's my advice. Is probably all over the place because I have a 3 and a 1 year old, so I'm not that far ahead of you. But man, everybody says enjoy it because it's going to be gone, and it will. Pretty soon, your 6 month old won't want to fall asleep on you. Number one. So I'm just like, enjoy it. Number two, I truly believe that we're all just doing the best we can do with what we know. And I am like, hopefully, if my kid needs a therapist when they grow up, hopefully they have access to one because I'm doing the best I can with what I know right now. And I, that's what I come back to every night. I'm like, I did the best I can today. And then I learn from it. You make mistakes as a parent. It's a good opportunity to learn. So That's it. I really truly do think you should just embrace these moments and love them, because they'll be, if you get to live to be 60, 70, 80, 90, I don't know, these moments, your kids are only little for what, 3, 4, 5 years, and then they're going to be off at school and they're going to be like, I don't need you, dad. I'm walking with my friends. It's a really small piece of our life in these moments of the little kids. So that's
Yeah.
my advice. Do the best you can, but also really soak it up, because it's fleeting, like in the
It
whole scheme of
doesn't,
your
but it
life.
doesn't feel fleeting, to be honest. It doesn't
No,
feel it.
I know. My days feel like they're on fire sometimes still, but my kids aren't like babies anymore. My 1-year-old is like walking around and he's got his personality, and he likes to do things on his own. And I'm like, oh my God, 6 months ago you couldn't do anything without me. And it just every day they just get a little bit more. So
Yeah.
it feels. I do know though it feels long and hard, but it's not. It's not as long as it
Yeah,
seems.
but I think also living in a generation house also makes it fun because they have
Hmm.
more kids, but you also have more adults in the house to support each other and like pick up when the other person goes off. Because in Pakistan as well, we have joint family systems, right? The
Hmm.
concept is the same that, but mostly on the brother side and the sister side, because yeah, it's more of a patriarchal system. So like the brothers live together with the parents and their wives in one house, and yeah, my mom lived like that. My aunts lived like that, and they all tell me that it wasn't this hard. You guys are panicking, and I'm like, you guys had it easy, okay? We are
Yeah,
alone. We're just two people trying to handle this.
yeah. We moved, so it's super interesting. This is way off topic of math, but who cares? We moved in with my parents. My grandma lives with my parents, and we moved in with my parents because we're actually planning to move abroad. So we sold our house, and we've got my grandma, my parents, me, and my family, and then my sister has 2 kids all in one house, and it is so different. We've been here for less than a year, so we have a 3-year-old that we were raising on our own. Raising my 1-year-old in this house is so much easier. It is. I've been there on both. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. My child is walking around the house, but my mom has an eye on him, so I can get something done really fast. Like, it's different having generations in the house.
Yeah, that doesn't really help. Yeah, you have a trade-off, of course. You like your own privacy, and it's like more of a Western concept that you want to be alone. It's your own place. But my God, sometimes I said today she was here, and I've been raving it to my wife so much. I'm like, I love this. Your mom was here. It felt like home.
Yeah.
And it hasn't felt like home in a long time. And then suddenly I'm like, it felt like home. She's like, oh, you just want someone to feed you apples. I'm like, it's not that. It's not that. It's the fact that there's comfort in the house. And that
Yeah.
you miss that comfort sometimes. But bringing the conversation back to math, what I really liked about the parenting and the math example that you were saying, specifically about that you cannot make all the right decisions, right?
Hmm.
You do not know what is best for your kid. All you can do is your best for the kid. And those two things
Hmm.
are not mutually exclusive, like a Venn diagram. Look at me mathing right here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
it's
love
it's
it.
it's not it's not mutually exclusive. So what you can do is you can do the best, make a system for them that they can do, but you are making decisions under uncertainty. And to me, that's also math. Probability and statistics are also math that teaches you that all the decisions, almost all the decisions you're going to be making in life are going to be decisions made with incomplete information and
100.
uncertainty, and you need to learn to deal with it as a parent as well as a child. And if you remove all that uncertainty from a child's life and try to give them all the structure, like you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to grow up, you're going to get married to this person, you're going to do this, that, you plan their whole life, they don't feel in control anymore, and they don't know how to build the necessary life skills to deal with uncertainty, which is life itself. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's beautifully said. Making decisions in uncertainty. That's life, and that is life to a T. The best definition. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, and your decisions are going to affect what happens tomorrow. But if I could, see the future, I might be able to make my decisions easier. So, giving your child the confidence. This is what's important, I think. Giving your child the confidence to make these decisions and know that they'll be able to deal with the consequences, good and bad, right? In math, you're making a decision to do a step, or you're trying to think through a problem, or finding a pattern and seeing if you can repeat it. And you make some good decisions and some bad decisions, and you learn from them. And then in life, hopefully you're, assessing all the information that you get in, and you're making decisions. And we're building the confidence in our kids to deal with those decisions, good and bad. That's what it is about.
Indeed, indeed. And now I want to really like take the conversation more towards what you wanna uh how do you want to excite people about math and everything, because we're trying to slowly tone down the conversation. So what else can you tell me a little bit more about how you get people excited about math? Is there something you want to share? Is there something you want to talk about, of course, yourself and any other projects that you do, so that this space is yours. And This tell me more.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I I love math. I do 100%. And I 100% know that everybody can do math. Some people were maybe exposed to a math topic at a time that they weren't ready for, right? And this happens with the young kids all the time, like fourth, fifth, sixth grade. So, like eight, nine, 10 here. Kids get kind of thrown into a bit more abstract math that they're not always ready for. So, number one, I just need people to know that you might have thought you were bad at math and you might have been bad at math in fourth grade, and then you put yourself in that mindset. But now if you reframe math and reapproach it with your child or on your own because you're curious about it, man, you'd be amazed what your brain can do and how much you learned and matured and changed, and a different perspective will just change how you think about math. So honestly, that's my goal. You come to me, you or your child, whoever's coming, curious about math, and I will help it make sense for your brain. It can, it will. There's so many ways to explain a topic, to think about a topic. And, at the traditional school level, it's very just one and done. Here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. But really, it's like you could do it this way or this way or this way or this way or this way. But they just don't go into that. So I am so sure that anybody can do math and be good at math. It's just a matter of finding the way that your brain works and making sure that somebody's teaching in that way, or making it exciting for you by, you know, bringing an interest into it that you didn't think was related to math, and then having that curiosity and conversation that way. But that's what I'm about. It's just like, man, let's make math cool again. Let's just make it the thing, because it is going to be something that's so powerful in the future, to have the skills that you learn in math, but also like being able to do math and not rely on a computer. You'll be leaps and bounds ahead of people, who are trying to get ChatGPT to do their homework.
No, I
Yeah.
agree with you 100%. And before I ask you the next question, I really want to add like an addendum here. Like what right now is the cutting edge frontier, the new frontier for AI that most people are talking about is code generation, right? So a skill that was sought after for the past 10 to 15 years was computer science and coding.
Hmm.
But this thing can do it for you,
Yeah.
but it cannot think for you. So you
Hmm.
still need to tell it what to code and how to code, and it's going to code for you. Me, I work as a data consultant, and mostly what I do is build applications, but not by myself. I talk to people who build it for us. My job is to make it make sense for them
Hmm.
and make it make sense for the people who want the thing built. So, like a person in the middle, I'm a translator, and I always tell people that if you have possessed those skills, those critical thinking and problem solving skills, as you said, like if you make those things important enough, like focused enough, these are much better than people who just are doing things on ChatGPT or people just who are just lifing through, because yes, AI will be able to do most of everything, but it'll not be able to think.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things math does, it makes you think. And I
It
think
makes
that's
you
really,
think.
really important, right? Next
Yeah.
question that I wanted to ask you was is your clientele or your audience mostly students? Because you also said you or your kid, but do you mostly teach kids of a certain age, or do you also like maybe some adult who wants a refresher or wants to get motivated? What do you do?
Okay, so we focus on kids. That's our main clientele. And all of our tutors, we're also teachers in the United States. So we've all been certified teachers in the classroom. We've seen it. So we bring a lot of experience and good information to our tutoring, but we generally do kids. But any adult that wants to do math, we're right here to change the narrative. Like, we just want people to do it. So yeah, we work with kids, we do it online, we work with parents. One of our new things is trying to compete with AI. I don't know how well it's going. I don't know if it's going to be a thing. But you can snap a photo of your math problem and it will solve it. There's an app that then they'll solve it for you. I was like, that's not even helpful. That doesn't help anybody learn. So what we do is you can snap a photo and send it to us, and we send you a video explaining the concept and how to do it. and why you're doing what you're doing to try to actually teach the math. And that's what we're really pushing for people that just want, like, man, they want the answers. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to, they're so busy. They don't want to schedule an appointment. So
Yeah.
we do it's a monthly math pass where you can submit your questions, a picture, and then we send videos back. And it's been fun. It's incredible to have parents react and say, oh my gosh, I helped my kid with math. And I'm like, because you can do math too. So we're really trying to get the parent child relationship in math better.
Oh, that's actually a wonderful addition, a wonderful thing that you can add to your own topic of teaching, like a how to or a step-by-step video solution. Ideally, of course, that's not the right way to go, right? We want them to struggle, we want them to learn. But if some people are lazy, I actually have a different perspective on it. I get it that you wanna like give it to them because that's all they want. They say they don't have time and everything, but yeah, I feel like yeah, but you really need to want it, and you really need to, you really need to want it, and it's difficult for me to say as well because like you look at people who want to work out, people who wanna become better and improving themselves. No one wants to go for a gym coach or a health coach or like a life coach or anything like that because they're like, ah, why waste money? I can just find the answers online. I can just be lazy about it. And this is an
Oh,
example of that, right?
it is an example of that. One-on-one tutoring is the way to go. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that another piece of our culture that we're in right now is just like everybody's so people just can't do nothing. It's really hard for people to be unscheduled and do nothing. So yeah, this has filled a need of people being like, well, I don't have time. My kid doesn't have time to do an hour of tutor. I'm like, how do they not have time? They're 12. Like, what are they doing? Like,
Exactly.
it's just so crazy. But yes, it is. It is a bridge between the gap, which is parents tell their kids they're not going to be able to, oh, I never needed math. You don't need to learn how to do it this. Or you don't need to do it the way your teacher wants you to do it, which is such a big thing because math is being taught to think now. It's not just memorizing. And so the
Yeah.
parents will be like, that's not how I did it. And they don't know how to do it the way that it's being taught. And so they'll be like, do it this way. And there's so much frustration going on. So we're
Yeah.
like this little bridge between that gap so that the student can still see the way that they should be doing it to think through a problem or reason. And the parent can too, and hoping that we're not like ruining the little brains in fourth grade to be like, I'm never going to use math. So they say that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
it's,
no, I agree with you. No, I agree. I think there is nothing wrong with filling the gap because you said if you're not going to provide the service, someone else will, right? The chat
yeah,
GPT is going to do it. So it's
yeah,
fine to offer that clientele, but I feel like, yeah, that's good. One-on-one tutoring is the way to go. And that should be encouraged every single time. Hey, this is it, but if you want to learn more, do this. And I think it's wonderful. There is nothing wrong with always trying to satisfy a clientele that is not yours anyways, right? They will never
yeah.
come to one-on-one tutoring, so why not? The last question that I wanted to ask you was, where can people find you? Anything that you want to share about that? And yeah, all the links that you're going to say here, you can send it to me, and then we can, of course, put it in the link in the show notes so
Okay.
that people know where to find you.
Okay. We are on Instagram sending math goodies all the time. Math ideas you didn't know about, ways to do things. So we're at Wise Kind Math Tutors. And then we have a really easy but thought provoking. It's called Subtracting Homework Headaches. And it's for parents to go through and like think about what expectations you have around math homework for your kid and setting up a learning environment at home that is conducive to doing math, like encouraging making mistakes and problem solving. And then and it also goes through like a growth mindset and being like, I can't do this yet, or I need to learn a new way to do this. You can also get that. I'll send a link to that. It's really thought provoking to think about what your expectations are for your kid, and it will create these conversations you didn't even know you needed to have. So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Heidi. Thank you so much for everything. Before we leave, anything else do you want to add?
no, this was so fun, so great to talk about. I love that we're just on the same wave with it. I love it. Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it, and I mostly also enjoyed, well, not mostly, but I really enjoyed while you were talking. I could hear footsteps running around. That was probably your kids or your sister's kids is running
It's
around the
my kid.
house. It's beautiful. I think that makes it just much more wholesome that I can hear the little walking around, and it's just beautiful. I can't wait for my little one to start walking and running around. And yeah, and it is beautiful yet scary because people say that be careful what you wish for because once they
Hmm.
start walking and running, they're not stopping. So
That is accurate.
So yeah, I really don't know what to wish for. It's a double-edged sword. But thank you so much, Heidi. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
everything. It was wonderful. An hour almost passed by, and I didn't know it. And I always consider that a good conversation.
Likewise.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone else, for listening. And I hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time. If you haven't already, do check out the roundtable. We are live with our first session already, and we are looking for the upcoming quarter participants. So if you think you want an accountability group where you come in and get shit done, roundtable is the place to be. So sign up using the link below, and I'll see you there. Thank you so much.